also just put everything into the dash. So this side here, we got the temperature gauge, got the air breather mesh and cover. Charge light I'd already fitted, and over here we've got the oil pressure gauge and the key ignition switch. So I suppose the next thing to do, because we're working from here back, is to maybe fit the battery tray and then a little bracket for the voltage regulator. There's no need to be fitting the air filter yet, even we can get it running first, so we have to wait for carburetor to come. So this is the next morning. I just wanted to check the cooling system, and I did have to nip up the thermostat housing a little bit there, just a little bit of dampness around it. So yeah, these thermostat housings and all of that with just 2 bolts, one each side, are not that best design, and the one below as well only has 1 each side, and that was the one I had to, I think that's the one I had to nip up. Just there was a little bit of moisture, and it was running down onto the water pump, just the slightest bit. So you do have to do some serious flattening on them, but I had it very flattened, so that kind of thing. This was leaking yesterday and it seems to have dried up. So this is the first part of the test. The second part of the test is when you get it running and get it up to temperature and you have the rad cap on, you're running, what, the rad cap will stay pressurized till about 5 psi. So that's roughly what you're going to be running pressure wise in the cooling system. So that does test things a bit, and of course things, heat expands things, so that'll be the second test. But yeah, I'd say that's what we're going to go doing. So we'll work forward from the forward, we'll work backwards here towards the dash. And again, that's the biggest reason here why I haven't fitted the battery tray. Them things, them little plates can be a pig. When you take them off, you can flatten them all you like, you can make up all the gaskets, they just seem to be a weak point. So it's not leaking yet. So I'm happy to go ahead now and start fitting in bits and pieces here, and we have a new wiring loom for it there, so we can start, you know, once we have everything done, we can start connecting up that, and we'll see where our wire for the rear lights then will go. But I do have everything fitted where it's meant to be from the factory, like the key ignition's over there, charge lights here, the voltage regulator is going to be where it was in the factory, so everything should line up fairly well for the wiring loom. We'll polarize the dynamo to negative earth. There'll be a slight bit of modification needed to the loom because these originally were bolt-on connectors in the back, whereas these are the spade connectors. So that kind of stuff we'll get it right, but that shouldn't affect the length of the loom. The loom shouldn't be too short or anything like that, just because of that. So that's where we'll go next. So we're going to leave it there for today, try and just keep this more so about the exhaust, and we'll move on then to something a bit more to do with electrics. Battery tray time. So I was just having a think about where I would route this temperature sender cable there. So we used the bracket that's there, running it behind the oil filler, and down here, because it's very long, I'm going to let it run as long as I can, as straight as I can, and I've wrapped it up under here, because when you have the battery in there, you're not going to be able to see anything, and the toolbox bracket's going to block that there as well, and the air filter on the other side is going to, so you're not going to really see that. And we have it just running up nice and straight then to the temperature gauge. So I just have these in hand tight, both sides, one bolt there and the other bolt there, 11/16, massive bolts for something that's so small and light. I know it has to support a battery, but yeah, no, as I said before, they definitely had no problem or no issue in putting the material in these yokes. So now there's going to be a bracket that goes over them 2 studs there, and that's going to be fitting into that top right hand side bolt for the starter switch, and that's where we're going to mount the voltage regulator. So that's it there, and I think I have some nuts and bolts picked out for that. There, I do. Some just kind of neat and tidy, with a wide washer on one side because of the bracket on the voltage regulator, and smaller washers on the other side. And the reason for that is the hole is fairly wide, so the wide washer will cover that. And these are meant to be rubber mounted, as you can see there, and that's just designed to reduce the amount of shaking and vibrations, so that doesn't affect the voltage regulator. So that is where we're at there. Yes. So I think we'll go ahead, and I think we'll get that on, get that all in place. I don't think the battery tray is going to go getting in the way of doing a whole lot more with wire and like that. We do have our ignition switch in under there. It does get a bit tight working on that lad, but we can take him out very easily from the front and get him wired and get him put back in. And at the end of the day, I want the battery tray in so I know where to run the wires, because some of them come up through here, like that temperature sender cable there. So yeah, we'll have a play around. It's only in hand tight. We can remove it all again. I'm not going to go tighten anything up, but it's starting to look good. I'm happy with the work we did on the repair on this. If you haven't seen the previous videos, some of the rivets were gone, they're just worn and broken, and we rethreaded this to take two wing nuts. Now the battery in this tractor is very big and long. I don't know if this can actually be used, but maybe down the road, if the owner replaced the battery, a smaller one will do. Literally, when I was buying one for my Gold Belly, I have the same battery tray. I just measured that and the width, and I went in and I got one. And I got one with good cranking amps. The battery in this tractor now is strong enough to start the 20 diesel engine, to be honest with you, so there's no need for it, but it's great to have the power. But it might mean that we mightn't be able to use this bracket there, but it's okay. It's there for the next battery, we'll say. So there we are. We'll be able to wire on the front headlights when we get to that point from this switch here. We'll be able to route everything down. We'll be able to fit our starter then, fit our cables. That's probably something that we could do first, because we'll be able to cable tie the temperature sender cable to the cable coming down to the starter a certain amount of the way, just to keep it tidy. And we'll be able to put our battery lead on as well. The battery lead will go straight to that. One of them terminals, I don't think it matters which one at all. Probably the furthest away one will make most sense, and have the nearest one then coming to the starter. Then we'll start playing around with the loom, getting everything cut. Not cut, it should need to be cut, but getting everything, there will be a bit of chopping needed here and there for different connections and stuff like that, but for the vast majority it should be plug and play. So let's get going. Okay, time to start working on this wiring loom. So these are the voltage regulator wires here. So we're going to bare each one of these. I've gone for the original style bullet. By bullet I mean these connections here that would have been on the voltage regulator and it left the factory. So the bare bit of wire, that could be a little bit tight there now. So the idea is that you push the bullet down and you bend these. Down over the bullet. These can be a pig to fit as well. The bullets can be out of shape, bent and all of that. And the especially on the thicker wires like this. But anyway, we'll get it sorted. Okay. It's just nice to do it as it was and as it left the factory, you know. Something you don't see anymore. It's going to be, I remember doing it on my own with my other Ferguson 20 diesel there. It is, it's awkward enough now. It's okay on the thinner wires, I find. It's harder on the thicker wires to get them fitted in. And we'll see all of that now when it comes to fitting it. Oh Jesus, that one needs a bit of cleaning out. Get a straight pick at that. So these bullets don't have to be very, very clean, like, because at the end of the day it's just, they're used just to push the bare wire into the voltage regulator. But I still want to have them, nice. Everything helps, of course. Something like that. With the thicker wires, you really do have to get them as thin as possible up there, because it really can be difficult to get them to fit otherwise. So we take off that bracket there on the below the bottom end of the voltage regulator, like so. There's a rubber lad and there's a fibre lad here as well, kind of a, okay, so the fibre's on the outside. Think like that, and the rubber then makes a seal. And like that. I think so. Excuse me now. It's my guts making a bit of racket. Okay, so we have we have DEAF, so we've dynamo, earth, ammeter, but there's no ammeter on this, and field. So I think I'm after, I always do this now, to be honest with you. Always make this mistake. I get the stool under my arse, take the weight off the ground, as they say. Yeah, so I did it wrong. That's okay. I always make this mistake every single time. So the what? Unless it go through, will it? Oh, yeah, but I still made the same. I still made the mistake. It's a pity because you never get them as neat second time. But that's okay. We'll work it. the rubber lad and the fibre lad go on first. It's never as easy to take them off the big heavy wires. Come on. Right. So off of these, on with the rubber lad and the fibre lad. These wider ones then they kind of get caught in there. Every time I make this mistake. Well look, it'll work. We won't make it the next time. Actually probably will. I've made it every single time up to now. There we are. Okay. So let me just make a bit of a plan here. I will have to look at the wiring scheme for this, because where is our dynamo end? Here. So that is D there. That's D. And that's F. And that's A. Okay. So field dynamo's brown and yellow. So the last thing to go on is this. So if we're going putting it on that way there, let's turn it up the right way around. That would make a lot more sense. Like so. So we've got D. We put in through D. He is A, F, and E. D's ended up in either, so it's to be relocated like so. Okay, pull everything down, plenty of space. Fibre washer, if you want to call it that. It's not really a washer. And the one in the middle is for the bolt. And like that. Rubber. This can be fun as well. Getting it through the thicker wires. We'll see now how we get on. Not too bad. E then, is he going to want to go through? He is. A. And finally the field coil connection. Okay. Right. So we've everything pulled back fairly far. It doesn't need to be pulled back that far, but I want to give myself as much space as possible. So let's study these bullets now. So twisting these the way I did to get them through the rubber is something you have to untwist after you, well, ideally before you fit the bullet, because you're going to want to get single strands, well, a few bunched together strands to go down around the bullet, like so, equally and equal enough so it gets a nice snug fit. Jesus, that D one is a fair wire, very strong wire. Now we are right there, yeah. D, E, A, and F, yeah. So now is the time to sort that if it's not right. I do have a feeling I'll probably have to cut some of the strands off this. It's very, very wide. But look, we'll see how it goes. We'll do our best. The same with this A, the one that actually, so the D is carrying from the dynamo, there can be a lot of current in that, and the A then is what's going then into your battery, so that can be a lot of current in that as well. So we'll have to twist that one a bit to get it on it. I'm disappointed that they don't give you bullets with the regulator. These are old bullets. It wouldn't cost a whole lot, and even if they put it on the price, I would prefer it myself, because at least everything's new then. Now push it down in there. Tight enough now. Might have to do a bit of pull upwards and outwards. Okay. Yeah, very, very thick. I have to trim a bit off them, not in thick wires, the two thick wires. But all will be revealed. And it's all possible. Let's try and get it fairly even all the way around. Easier said than done, but okay. Now is the tricky bit, right? Yeah, well, right. See, is that going to go in there at all? If it doesn't, you have to start trimming some of the wires off because it's too wide. Or at least leveling it up. I'm going to try and try these thickest wires first, because you could also try widening. Widening that in there a bit, if it'll allow you. I can tell you one thing, it's bloody tight. So that is what you're up against anyway. The thinner wires go in good. I even go as far as to say that's a bit too loose, so we can nearly bundle a few of them together to make it thicker. I'll try this other thick wire here and see how does that feel. Right, that'll go, yeah. That'll go okay. And the field coil connection, that'll go as well. So if it's too easy, bundle them together and make it thicker. Now we're talking. Let's get snugger there now. Okay, this number one lad here is, let's see if we can widen that a bit with a Phillips. That lad is fairly tight. Not, we'll trim a few wires off him. and get the earth in now, actually. Okay, that's in. Okay, so these just too chunky, so we'll do it quick. I remember having to snip a few of these off before. Just do it till it's just nice, because if one of these is sticking too far out, it'll stop the rest of them from going in. Let's get our snips. Take another strand or two off it there, see where it's wide over here. Lift up two. We're going to be minimalist here. I want to keep as much wire as I can. There we are. And I can start fishing this around. I can tell you one thing, it is a fairly solid affair. You wouldn't believe how strong it ends up being when you've bolted all this together. I have to say the quality of the wire in this loom is very good. They really didn't scrimp on good quality wire. Okay, so that's how we're looking now. Give everything a final push in. Right. It is a bit of a workout now, but it'll be worth it. I like them. I like them nice and neat, and you can't see them horrible spade connectors like you see on the other ones. So if I was given the choice, I would go for this as well. Oh yeah. Solid isn't the word. Lovely and neat, lads. Now, there we go. So that is our voltage regulator wired up. Okay, so we've got to start making sense. I've moved the tractor. I'll turn you around here. I've moved the tractor over here, just closer to the workbench, because it was over the other side there because we were that's how we'd split it. I don't like to be locking myself into the shed. So. Okay, so that is on. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fit the starter. So we'll go around the other side and set up. Right, now we'll be able to hitch up our cable to the back starter as well. Okay, so what way? I presume this way here. This isn't a factory starter. It's okay, it fits. 1946 she's dated to. I think it looks well though. Get this, and then it'll be interesting to see how our original cable will definitely fit, because on the Ferguson starters, slightly later than these, the connection was down here more. So this will be shorter. It'll definitely fit. I think that bolt goes into the bell housing as well, so it ends up being the one that supports the engine as well. Lovely patina on this side of the engine. It'll be an utter sin to paint. Okay, now looking forward to seeing how this is going to fit. This the original battery cable. See now, I'm making a slight bit of filing here. I think I did a bit of work on it, did I? I must have done something on it. With the starter switch. Oh, look at that. Perfection. Perfection, he said. I thought it was going to be modification, it isn't. This is smaller than that. That's how we know it's all factory. God above. Lovely to see. Oh yeah, I just put a washer behind it and a washer there. Just putting a big flat washer behind it just tends to keep it a bit steadier at the back. Stop it from hitting off here, that's everything. So lovely brass nuts. And then up onto here, nice and neat. Might do a little bit of bending here and there to get it snug, but because it's a little bit short, a little bit too long, I should say, because originally it would have been down there on the other. What's the camera doing? Is everything visible there? Might bring you a bit closer. So we'll see now how everything lines up. If I want to, it's a bit long, I'll put it on the other one actually, I think. I'll put it on the other one, other terminals. It'll just make an inch difference, but look, we have it there, so we may as well. I'm putting this on now because the bracket over this starter switch is for the voltage regulator, and it's just easier to do all of this. I'm trying to get as much space as possible when I'm working. That's basically all it is. Doing things in the right order. Okay, you can nearly straighten that out a bit. God, it's quality bloody cable, I can tell you. That's a lot nicer now. It's hard to make wiring look nice, but you can, just have it in a way that everything's just laid out as best as possible. Somewhere like there would be good. Try and have it neat, but not touching the body of that starter for fear that, look, it's not going to rub it like that. Okay, that is, to me, looks like it's a nice job. Okay, and then we have the battery cable that we did a good bit of work on there to get it solid. If you didn't see the videos, there's a bit of work on that, and some of its original installation on it there as well. And to be honest with you, I ain't taking any of that off because it's on it a very long time. Now, I do have a feeling that this is going to need a bit of an adjustment. Lovely brass connections. Okay. You don't have to tighten that down because the wiring loom is going to be going to that as well. It's going to be powering things, and it's going to be taking power from the charger system, so keep that loose, but it's just kind of tight there. So that is how we're looking there. I'll give you a quick look for, oh, you can probably see there, yeah, this is all. I had to put a bit of heat shrink on that because this was bolted to that battery cable to lengthen it to fit an external starter switch. So we're going back to factory spec here now. So we keep that loose. So I think the next thing to do is to fit the voltage regulator in there. So we're going to try and fit this to its bracket. And first, We'll see how we go down with fitting. It shouldn't be an issue. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be an issue. Or, I'm just thinking out loud. Yeah, no, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. I'm just thinking for getting sockets and all in for them two big bolts there, but that'll be alright. It'll be alright. Okay, so that's one. And the other one there as well. Yeah, I'm happy I went with the bullet style, because otherwise you'd be looking at, you know, them dirty spade connectors and all that sticking out there. So at least this is nice and neat, and it's more sealed as well for it. Let's go crazy tight on them. There we go. Right, we'll run to the tractor and see if it fits. That's where we have to go. There. This little stool on wheels is, I have to say, is great comfort. Now, let's see how we're going to work all of this. Thing of beauty, lads. Okay. There's our lads there for earth and power. So what we'll do is we'll get our power one on first, since we'll put it underneath the battery cable. Okay. There's two connections coming off it. There's our A from our ammeter. Sorry, for A from our voltage regulator, which is meant to go to an ammeter, which basically allows the true ammeter back into the battery. We don't have an ammeter in this tractor, so straight to battery. There's the earth, and we can run that through and we can connect it on the other side. I'll actually bring you around the other side and we're connecting that. It's no big deal. We'll do that there. So that goes on there. Might bring you over a little bit more here. Centralize, and we'll just tap the screen just to get it to, it kind of does a auto focus and a light kind of a focus. Right. So we have one bolt to go in, and we have these 11/16 nuts to go on, and spring washers. As I said before a few times, the amount of material put on these, like 11/16 is basically between a 17 and 18 mil nut. Two of them for the likes of that is a lot of material. We might be able to get this in, or we mightn't. If we can't, I'll get a ratchet spanner at it down. We don't need to be doing that now, or even on camera. We can do that ourselves. So this is the other bolt that goes down into the starter switch, and it goes under the front of this. It's a little bit tight in there now. It'd be a matter of just locating it. A few spins by hand to make sure we're on the right threads, and the 1/4 inch ratchet is awful handy for that. But this is why I way prefer the bullet style connectors. They're so much more nicer to look at. No point tightening that until we get the other nut on. So I'll go and do that, and we'll come back then and just give that a final nip. It's starting to look good. Okay, so I made one little mistake on this. That's going to need a ½ inch. I need to get the wires over this side and not the other. I should have remembered that. But we're not gone too far that we can't reverse that. It's just the wires for the ignition switch end up being too short when they're sticking out the other side. They have to come over the whole way. So I'll just take that positive in there, out of the way, up and off, and pull it over this side here. Bring the loom around this side here. This has to go to the ignition switch. I see how it works now. It all just starts taking shape now. Yeah, that's a lot better looking now. The battery cable just fell off, so we'll put that on from this side here. Now, so it does really look like this side of the tractor was more so for the electrical. The other side was your fueling system. So we can now go and bolt that down tight, because everything should be in the right place there now. Okay. Right, let's give that a nip up off camera. Now, this is your earth, so I'm actually going to loop that around this, because what it'll do is it'll actually just keep it steady for us. Not that it's going to be jumping anywhere, but still. It's a nice clean washer there, but I'm just going to, since it has to carry power, so I'm going to quick rub on the sanding board. Get it shined up. This is your earth for your charging system, so sometimes it's the last thing people check if there's issues. So one loop around the temperature sender cable. If it touches that anyway, it's only earth anyway, it's not going to go affecting it. God, I have to say I'm very impressed with the wiring loom. It all just seems to make sense. Okay. Okay, that's nice and neat and out of the way. It'll help just keep this nice and neat too. And we can even cable tie that in out of the way there as well if we want. Okay, so this is our dynamo connections, I think. And this is our power. Is it white? It's power to the coil if it is. So what we'll do is we'll just send that back towards the dynamo there for a minute and try and see what way things are going. Try and get everything just tight. This is our ignition switch. Now I don't know why they have them on it when it's not. Like this wiring loom is fairly factory spec, but these are a little bolt-in connection, so they need to have bare wires. Now the only problem with that is putting two wires on one side isn't a good idea. So what I have a feeling I'm going to do is put a spade connector in there, a male spade connector in there, the male in there. And a bit of wire, maybe connect it that way. I don't want to have a lot of connections, but I don't want two wires going in there. It's only going to get too messy. One of them was most likely not make the best contact. So I think that's probably what I'm going to do there. And it's a little, if you want me to be completely honest, it's a little bit short, unless this is meant to go in underneath the bracket all in there. I can't see how it's going to do that. Yeah, I don't know if that's meant to. It's a little bit creased and stuff there. So it's just going to be a matter of playing around it a little bit. Nip up that there. I don't remember seeing anything around the starter switch, like other wires jumbled in around it or on. I do remember seeing the original wiring loom on this was sitting around there and it was going up under there. But this is definitely just a bit. Now it's not too short, but by the time you cut all that off, it would be. So we'll have to do a little bit of modification to that, but that's okay. Had they just left bare wires to be two bare wires there, I wouldn't be happy putting two wires into that connection. So come back when we have a bit of head scratching done. Okay, so what I've done here is do a bit of tidying up, and yet I've got a double piece of double core wire with a heat shrink and a connection on it there, and that'll go in there and it'll turn and it won't even be able to pull out. So when I screw that down on top of it, it'll be solid, completely and utterly solid. And what we have on the other end is this, so I'll just do a little bit of tidying up on this. We'll use a bit of I should get a bit of heat shrink over that. I just wanted to focus on getting that into the shape that it needs to be to go down in there, and so that when it's turned it's locked in, and then when you screw the little grub screw in, she's solid. So that's what we're going to do for both of them wires. Tommy Ray. So we're finished. So basically that's the way it looks now. Double core wire, little tiny electrical connectors bent into shape, all in nice and solid. So it doesn't matter which side we connect on here. Okay, I might just fit a bit of heat shrink over them, I think, just to take the bad look off them. I will, yeah, that's what I'll do, and I'll come back. I think that would be the wise thing to do, because there's a little bit of wire there that's exposed. Jesus, it gets a good bloody grip on it, I can tell you that much for nothing. Whatever the hell connection it is. There's some sort of a click in it, is there? God above. Yeah, let's see what's happening there. Yeah, there's a kind of let's see if we can get away with that using it, we will, because I don't want to damage it. I don't think there's going to be anything coming into contact with that tiny bit of wire. So I'll just put the little nut on it there. Disappointed in saying the nut is plastic. The original one is brass. I have an original one there, but one of the connections is damaged on it. Okay, no, that's all going to be okay. So how are we looking now? There is our key. Okay, so to tighten up, just tighten that nut and we'll give you a look at it. That's how it looks now. It's all fairly well covered off there. Right, so we have to figure out, may as well go put the coil on now, because we're in position here with the camera and all, and this is the connection for it, and it's way too long. So we'll just see what we can do about that, because it's only going to need to go, originally they would have went this side here, originally when they were positive earth and all of that, and that would have made sense. But with the negative earth, it only has to go to this connection on the coil. So we will have a little bit of cable tying to do, and just tidying up general to get everything a little bit more tidy, but that is all right. We don't mind that. Oh Jesus! A little clip for the distributor. It prefers having the cap on, I think, and having a bit of tension in it, and that's loose as well for timing. So okay, we'll go and get the coil and get that fitted. So I tested this coil and it tested as working. 1960, I think it is. 1961, and we found some other electrical part in that distributor as well. Yes, the condenser, 1961, so there was a bit of servicing done on this in 1961. Electrical anyway. And by then, the coils, the Lucas coil that would have been available on this tractor originally as fitted, was changed to the LA12 that is fitted on it now. The LA12 was introduced for the gold belly 35 petrol and TVO models, and at that point they got rid of the metal case and what ones that had been fitted originally to these, and they changed them to the kind of aluminium. This is aluminium, it's just painted. So something to do with cooling and all of that, I think, helps. That seems a little bit tight. A little bit loose for something that's so tight. So we'll see what's happening there. That side is snugged up nicely. So we'll do with our a 1/4 inch ratchet on the ground. Yes. And we'll give that other one a nip. I have to say, I do like the LA12 coils like these. I think they're still very much old school Lucas. Jesus, that's tight as hell. I'm going to loosen this off and see what's going on. If we have to fit a bolt instead of a stud, I will do that. Something strange going on there now. Not the kind of thing that I'd want to go ringing or anything like that from over tightening. Okay, oh yeah. The threads are bad on it there, it doesn't want to thread in. That's all that's wrong with it. So what we'll do is we'll just throw a thick washer on it, because I don't want to go, I'll never get that nut off without damaging those threads. Right. Needs must and all of that. These can be a little bit awkward because of the bracket, just to get your hand in to get them started. Now, if you could find this little ratchet, there it is. Maybe away. So yeah, so these wouldn't originally been painted, they'd been just aluminium, and you can see on the back it wasn't painted. So someone had given it a lick of paint at some point. Okay, this other one we said was all right. It's a loosen this off, move it over a bit and get that nipped. Oil will come out those stud holes if things aren't nipped up, or if you leave one out. So we don't want that. So that's good. And here is our powering connection. I have a feeling I might have to do a bit of work on this just with the Dremel. Let's give everything an anti-shake washer. No, I won't. I must have cleaned it up already. It's not too bad. So that will go on there. Power in. Now it does say SW switch and contact breaker, so that's for positive earth. So when you're doing negative earth, you can swap them. If you don't, it makes a very, very small difference. So, to be honest with you, a very, very small difference. That's why this wire is just a little bit longer. It would have originally been wired the other way. People that look into it very deeply and they do all the maths, and it ends up being of such a negligible difference that it's not worth getting excited about at all. So these are 11/32. And it should be. The last time I checked, they were 11/32. 5/16. 11/32. Strange size. Lucas used 11/32. What size is that now? 11/32. That's what they should be anyway, yeah. Okay, so that's that. Right, and in the wiring loom, to give you this as well. So I had that fitted to the distributor already. We have an anti-shake washer here as well. Factory washer, they're brilliant. They're a little bit, they've got a little bit of sharp edges on them. A star shape kind of sharp edges, and they help cut into the connector, get a great connection. So this is the reason why this is long as well. This originally would have been connected there, so it's just a little bit longer. Now we can connect it that way and all, make it look factory, but the spark will be that slightest bit weaker. And being honest with you, I prefer to I'm going to put it in behind there. I prefer to give it the best chance as possible in life. And we might just spin this one in there a bit as well. There's a nice bit of kind of a temperature resistant covering on the pipe, on the wire. Okay. And the wiggle test, that anti-shake washer will keep it nice and snug. Okay, I think we set the points, but we're not going to worry about that yet. We'll go around and do our dynamo. I think that's going to need a bit of modification. So I'm just looking at this ignition light here, and these are all wired in the loom for the original one that was bolt-on connections. So we do have an issue in that this isn't an original one. Now the original ignition lights, charge lights, were actually designed to run on 6 volts, and it came around to 12 volt to put a big coil of wire on the back of them to act as a resistor. So what I'm after doing here is I'm after getting the small white wire that's coming from the ignition switch there. I'm after getting that bolted on the back of it without any modification whatsoever, just a washer. The big one here, I'm after grinding it down, and I'm just trying to see if I can do it in a way that's going to make sure that it's not going to go touching. Now I will be able to make full sure that it's not going to touch, of course, putting something in there, but I want to do it nice and neat here first. as I'm bolting it down. For some reason the washer wants to come out towards the other side. I just want to make sure that everything's going to be okay there. It's going to be, I want to keep that distance. I could have cut this off back here, and then I would have had to shorten it, and what would have happened was there'd be a big kink in this because this would be shorter. So I decided I'll just grind that down. Now these, the proper style new ignition switches are crazy expensive because of that coil of wire and all, because they're a fairly decent reproduction of the original one as well, of course. This was a light that was on the tractor already, so if I can make sure that that ain't going to go touching, we should be good to go. And of course I can make sure that by putting something in there, it is going to be hidden from view. Would I prefer to have a new old style one? Of course I would. This is what we have to work with. And as far as connections go, they're going to be perfect. Just have to make sure that there's no contact between them, otherwise there'll be slight problems in the neighbourhood. So I'll go and fit something in between them to make sure they don't touch. I was giving them a bloody good tightening there now as well, making sure everything is not going to go moving at all. Don't really like the look of how that one's white wire there is sitting, so I'll just get him sitting a bit better. As I said, I could have cut, but because there's two heavy wires coming into that, I wouldn't have a connection that is going from such a thick wire to such a thin wire. I wouldn't have one there. And if I bare the two wires, they're too thick to go in through the hole that they're designed to go in, so I am going to go with this type of setup. And I do not like bare wires in a wiring loom. I know they're going to be tight now down screws, but I just don't like them. So I prefer to do what I'm after doing there. Okay, so that's going to go up onto the dash, so we'll set up the camera there. Right, so that goes there's the spring we need. There's a bracket there for that I'm putting through. In there, that goes in there. The bulb goes in there on the spring, and the cover will go on it there, like so. Lovely. So I've modified the wires going to the dynamo, but I'm not hitching them up yet because I have to polarize the dynamo. So I fitted the earth cable onto the battery, fitted the battery, and I have to touch this off the positive and touch it off the feed. So I'll let you down there and have a look at that. You get a kind of a tiny blue spark. And oh yeah, we'll set up the camera here. So just the negative lead on the battery and then tip off here. That basically tells the magnets what way they want to go. So we had to put on a big connection here for the D, and we'll put on a small one for the F. So that should go on there, and that should go on there. The heat shrink on both of them. Now, and that will all go in behind the carb when it comes to fitness. Our wiring loom, I think, is complete. Yeah, we're complete. Our positive lead is on. Our negative lead is already on because that's an original negative lead. So this tractor has all original battery cables and starter cables. So if everything is good in the hood, and I didn't get any sparks when I tipped the lead off the battery, and that's always a sign that things are good. So if everything is good, our charge light will turn on when I turn this. And off, on, so that is good. Do we have spark? Let's turn off the ignition first and get this turned there off the cam. We can do the timing on it afterwards. We have spark. Okay, so all fairly straightforward. Bit of tidying up to do here, I would say. I've rerouted some wires already to get them a little bit more neat and tidy, but the original loom definitely ran up there, as I have that. That's definitely where the earth was. Yes, I have decided to put the battery cable on this instead of that. It makes no difference. Actually, speaking of which, we have to try that starter switch. Now, this will be interesting. What have we got hitting there? Do. Something hitting. The fan is hitting something there. Anyway, it doesn't matter, it's working. So we'll work that other bit out. So I'm delighted with that. The fan hitting this double E. So look, I bent it back a little bit there, but we will be taking it off to fit a shroud anyway. So that is cool. And we have our ignition. Yes. All wired as it should be, factory standard. I am happy with that. So we just did a little bit of rerouting here to make use of the original bracket there. Now can that be seen? There, that lovely brass bracket. So we've got our wire, the white wires for the tail lights. We've got our temperature. You can just see the shiny metal there going up there to here, and it's also powering our ignition light here. So that is fairly cool, but to be safe, I will just, because we're still doing a bit of checking here, I will just remove the positive lead here just to keep everything. So I'm going to finish up here for this evening, because that is our wiring loom fitted. And one thing, when you're, you know, after wiring something, just tip, and if you see sparks, there is an issue, something going to earth. So there's no sparks there. Okay, so we're getting that a little bit closer.